everyone, welcome back to Chanting. I'm Zayna.
And I'm Father Chris, and I don't know what's going on with you today, Billy. He's being a little bit shy. I'm very sorry. Here we go. Okay, now we're good to go.
Okay, today we are going to be looking at Tone 8 or Plagal 4. As we learned a few lessons ago, we learned that plagal means that the tone is on its side.
And what Zayna means by that is it's related to tone 4. So tone 4 and then tone 8 is considered plagal 4, but we're going to call it tone 8 because it's like you take tone 4, turn it on its side, and you get plagal 4 or tone 8. And just to give you a brief introduction there, it's related because it sounds very similar. So if you remember, tone 4 was based off the vu, mi, ga, vu, or the mi, so, fa, mi. Set a watch, O Lord, before my mouth, and a door round about my lips. Whereas tone 8, or plagal 4, is based off of the ni, or the do. Do, mi, so, mi, do, ni, vu, di, vu, ni. Set a watch, O Lord, before my mouth, and a door round about my lips. Now, one difference is that the plagal tones tend to sound a little bit more complete than the first couple of tones. And what I mean by that is if you listen to the difference between these two verses, you can hear it. So if I were to do set a watch, O Lord, in tone 4, na, na, da, set a watch, O Lord, before my mouth, and a door round about my lips, as opposed to set a watch, O Lord, before my mouth, and a door round about my lips. And to drive the point home even a little bit more, I could start it in tone 4 and end in tone 8. That's how similar they are. Not trying to confuse you, but just to show you all how similar they really are and why they're considered plagals, because they're like cousins. Set a watch, O Lord, before my mouth, and a door round about my lips. So it's the same kind of scale there. It's just different parts of the scale, different parts of those notes. And so just to show you how related they are. But anyways, done confusing you, let's really dig into tone 8 or plagal 4 here. Now, when we look at tone 8, there's really kind of like two versions of tone 8. Now, they're all based off the do or the ni. However, it sounds more like whenever we're talking about a troparia of tone 8, which would be like a theme song, is kind of another name for troparia, but like the main hymn for a feast or for the resurrection or for a saint, that's when we would use troparia tone 8. And some examples of those that we're going to get into are the troparia for Pentecost and also the troparia for the resurrection. But the troparia tone 8 is based off of the ni, but it sounds kind of like the ga. So same thing as tone 7 and even tone 3. To get into it, you would think to yourself, mi, ga, do, fa. So that would be like the apikima to get into this version of tone 8. And so before we get into the other version, we'll go ahead and sing a few examples of this one.
So the first example we have is one that you all should be very familiar with, the Troparian of Pentecost. So to get into that, Niga, blessed art thou, O Christ our God.
And I know this is annoying, but I'm going to cut you off right there. Thank you, Zayna, because this is a really important example so that we can understand how it differs from tone 7, because it sounds very similar to what we did last week with tone 7. So tone 7, it stays up in the upper part of the scale, whereas tone 8, which Zayna just really beautifully sang for us, blessed art thou, O Christ our God, it dips. Da 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 dum, da 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 dum. Tone 7, if it's going to go down, it will go down gradually. Da 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 dum. Whereas tone 8, when it does go down, da 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 dum. So please forgive me if I'm confusing any of you. I know it really is confusing. But once you start to hear the differences, it can make a lot of sense as far as not switching back and forth between 7 and 8. So Zayna, if you could continue singing, and I want you all listening to really notice those dips that make it Troparia tone 8. Please go ahead.
Blessed art thou, O Christ our God, who hast revealed the fishermen as most wise, having sent upon them the Holy Spirit, and through them thou hast fished the universe. O lover of mankind, glory to thee.
So another example of Troparia tonate is the Troparia of the Resurrection in tonate. Now, if you've noticed from week to week, there is a Troparia for the resurrection in every tone, and that's because it's the resurrection. Whereas the Troparia of Pentecost is only in tone 8, the Troparia of Transfiguration is only in tone 7, and other Troparia, there's only one and one version of them. But as far as the Troparia for the resurrection that we sing week to week, there is one for every single tone. So I'll go ahead and sing the Troparia of the Resurrection in tone 8. And again, just like Zayna did, please focus and realize where the dips are that make it tone 8. From the heights thou didst descend, O compassionate one, and thou didst submit to the 3-day burial, that thou might deliver us from passion. Thou art our life and our resurrection, O Lord, glory to thee. So that's Troparia tone 8. I'd encourage you to go ahead and pause the video now, and you can practice that a little bit and get used to that. So now we're going to go ahead and shift our focus into the other version of tone 8, which is really truly based off of the do or the ni. And a really good way to kind of get into this one is to sing to yourself, do, mi, so, mi, do, mi, vu, di, vu, ni, or just so, fa, mi, re, do, di, ga, vu, pa, ni. And for me, this one is just really exciting because it's just upbeat, it's very major. Set a watch, O Lord, before my mouth, and a door round about my lips. And as Zayna and I go ahead, and we're going to be singing Lord, I Have Cried, as well as some of the verses, you're going to get to see how there's the difference between the slower version and the quicker version of this. They're both based off the do or the ni. They both really rely on the same notes, because another note that's really important is the so or the the, and it often rests on that note as well, as you'll see. But there's a slower version, which we typically do for Lord, I Have Cried, or for things like whenever we sing Glory, both now and a longer hymn, the hymn of Cassiani on Holy Tuesday night during Holy Week. These things are all in the slower version of tone 8. And I'm sure you've often heard it, especially at camp, because whenever we sing it at camp, everybody joins in and it's so beautiful. But the slower version would sound like this. Glory to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit. And we'll go ahead and sing an example with Lord, I Have Cried, because that is in the slower version of tone 8. But then we shift into the quicker version of tone 8 for the verses, which again is the same thing, just a lot quicker. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And also, I meant to mention that the apikima for tone 8, especially the slower version, is typically this. Neagie. And neagie is just Greek kind of syllables. It really isn't any specific notes, but that's just typically what a lot of chanters will sing. Or if you want a little bit more to help you get started, neagie. So that's how we would go ahead and start. So without further ado, Zayna and I will go ahead and do Lord, I Have Cried, and then some of these verses here for you. Neaie, O Lord, I have cried out unto thee, hear thou me, hear thou me, O Lord. O Lord, my supplication. When I cry out unto thee, hear thou me, O
Let my prayer be set forth before thee as the incense and the lifting up of my hands as the evening sacrifice. Hear thou me, O Lord.
Set a watch, O Lord, before my mouth, and a door round about my lips.
Incline not my heart unto evil words, to make excuses in sin.
With men that work iniquity, and I will not communicate with the choicest of them.
The just man shall correct me in mercy and reprove me, but let not the oil of the sinner anoint my head.
For my prayer also shall still be against the things which with they are well pleased. Their judges falling upon the rock have been swallowed up.
They shall hear my words, for they are sweet, as when the thickness of the earth is broken upon the ground. Their bones are scattered by the side of hell.
But to thee, O Lord, Lord, are mine eyes, in thee have I put my trust. Take not away my soul.
Keep me from the snare which they have laid for me, and from the traps of the workers of iniquity.
Let the wicked fall into their own nets, while I alone escape. As you can tell, that one's a lot of fun, and Tone 8's just really upbeat and really exciting. Just some reminders. The endings are always the same, and that's what matters, because you notice that Zayna and I were doing all kinds of things with our voices going all over the scale, but what's important is that we ended the same way. Now, another thing about Tone 8 is to realize that we typically flat the zo on the way down. So if you noticed, let the wicked fall into their own nets. So it's not when I'm going up. When I'm going up, it's a natural note, but when I'm coming down on the notes, I tend to flat that. And that's just Byzantine chant tradition. It's not that it's right or wrong, it's just what we typically do for Tone 8. Let the wicked fall into their own nets, while I alone escape. So if you're following the music, typically you'll hear us do that with a flat there. Another thing to keep in mind is, and I'm sure you've heard this throughout the weeks, but a lot of times you'll hear Zayna and I flutter our voices a little bit. Set a watch, O Lord, before my mouth. That's just an example. Da, 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 dum. And that's just kind of unwritten tradition in Byzantine chant, because typically we'll do a little bit of a flutter whenever we hold a note. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just kind of the tradition. It's not typically written in the music. Sometimes it is, but just as a means of explaining why we do what we do is just kind of what we've learned and what we kind of have grown used to. And a lot of times we just do it without even realizing. So that's really it for all the tones. At this point, we've gotten through all 8 of them. Again, this is really just a very beginner's look into the Byzantine tones and the Byzantine chant. And hopefully you've been able to join us. If you haven't, you can feel free to go back and watch all of these videos.
And remember to feel free to reach out if you have any questions. If you're struggling with something or you just need a little bit of guidance, definitely feel free to reach out.
And as one last reminder, the best way to learn the tones, the absolute best way, is going to church. Go to church as much as you can, most especially Saturday Great Vespers and Sunday Orthros and Liturgy, because the tones change week to week. They change day to day, as you notice from our times at camp. And so really encourage you, please go to church. If you really want to learn, go to church and learn as much as you can. Practice at home. If you can play the keyboard, take some of this music and play it out on the keyboard and listen to these videos, or there's tons of other videos on YouTube and on the internet, lots of resources that you can use to learn more about chanting. And I really encourage all of you, when you're at home in your parishes, go up to the chant stand. It's not meant for one or two people who own the chant stand. It's really meant for all of us. And it takes courage sometimes, but it's important for us to go there. Even if you just stand at the chant stand, I'd encourage you, you can't just jump in and start swimming. You have to go up to the chant stand and just stand there and watch what the chanters are doing, watch what the chanters are singing, especially because with practice of doing that, as Zayna noticed a couple of years ago when she really started, just by watching, oh, Father Chris is doing this, and that's tone 7, so that's how tone 7 must sound. Or he's looking at this hymn, and that's what that does. By doing that, you really open yourself up to the opportunity to learn and to get more familiar with the tones. So go to church, go up to the chant stand, ask your priest or your chanter to help you or to work with you or to give you the opportunity. And even just go up and start doing some of the readings. That can really be a good way to get yourself started with chanting. What other tips do you have, Zayna?
Um, I guess to kind of, even if you're a little nervous, I think just give it a try anyways. The worst that happens is you mess something up and you do it again the next time and you'll learn from your mistake. I think the biggest thing is just having the courage to just give it a shot, and that's the best way you learn.
And I'd encourage you, like Zayna said, make those mistakes. The
Yeah.
fact is, I mean, I've been chanting since I was in 3rd grade, which was a long time ago. I've been chanting a lot of years, but the fact is, I still make mistakes. I mean, every service that I chant here at the village, there's at least 1 or 2 big mistakes that I make. And I realize that, and that's okay. So please give it a shot, go up to the chant stand, um, give it a try, and make those mistakes. It's okay. God just wants to know that you're trying and that you're using your voice, your instrument that God has given all of us to glorify and to beautify Him. So thank you for joining us. It's been a real joy getting to be with you. Thank you so much for being with me here to help teach all these tones, and it's been a lot of fun getting to chant with you, and I get to learn from what you know as well. So,
It's been a blast. Thank you.
all right, we love you all. We hope you're enjoying virtual camp, and all right, this is us signing off. Take care.
Bye.
Say bye, Billy.